What are your views of community? How connected are you? Hello everyone. I am joined today with Jen Patrick. Adorable Jen Patrick. Thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Is this the first time you've done a podcast?
It is.
What were your thoughts when I asked you?
I'm slightly gobsmacked, I have to say.
Were you?
But yeah, there you go.
Well, we have good conversations, so I thought, why not
Yeah,
share
we
them?
do.
We do. We like to get into all the nitty-gritty stuff.
Yep.
So do you mind telling us a little bit about you work-wise?
I'm a nurse, mainly worked clinically in intensive care for many years. I've also got postgraduate qualifications in infection control.
You'd be very handy around COVID then, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so. But, yeah.
And you've got a bit of an academia background too.
Yep. And I've done some research and teaching as well.
There you go. There you go. So I'm really eager to talk about community because I don't think we talk about community very much.
No.
No, it's a strange thing because here we are. We all need to belong. And when someone is going through a period of acute anxiety and depression, which is the two primary diagnoses, people become incredibly self-consumed because they're so distressed. You know, bear with a sore tooth. Is that the right saying? Do bears have
Head, I think.
Sore what?
Isn't bear with a sore head?
Sore head, could be.
Oh, I don't know, maybe.
We'll go with that.
Yeah,
we'll go
whatever.
with that. Yeah, so we become incredibly self-focused, understandably. But we know that when we have a good balance with mental health, we're actually very focused on other people. We're focused on getting involved in meaningful things, our creative pursuits, and the community. So, it's really an ingredient for life balance and involvement in the bigger picture. But yet we don't talk about it.
No.
No. So what are your thoughts with community? What do you think? I mean, how do you define community?
Well, I think community is it's how we survive and thrive as a species.
Because we need people.
Yeah, we don't do anything on our own to achieve things. So that's probably not well put. But a group of individuals together can achieve much more than individuals on their own.
People need people.
Yeah, and everything we do is as a member of a community. So, community is just a group of people and they can be brought together through geography. So it can be the people in your street, the people in your town, or they're brought together by a common interest, a language, or specific characteristics that they have.
Yep.
So they may be part of a disabled community or work community. Work community is a huge
Absolutely. And I think the geography is very interesting as well because I'm from Brisbane, and the north side and the south side have got an incredible, it's a bit like
Yes,
the state
they
of
do.
origin, isn't it?
Very
New
much
South Wales
so.
and Queensland. And when you meet someone from Brisbane, it's like, well, where are you from? And that means, are you north side or south side? And then we have to square each other up and decide if we'll tolerate that.
Yeah.
And that's actually about saying, well, I'm part of the south side, I'm part of the north side as well.
Yep. And our communities are in some respects quite tribal.
There you go. I love that, tribal.
Yeah, so I often use state of origin as an example of how we become tribal. So most of the year,
Yep.
nobody really cares too much where somebody comes from.
Yeah.
But come state of origin, all these people who have no interest in football whatsoever suddenly become a Queenslander or a New South Welshman.
And just to explain for people who aren't from Australia, this is rugby and this is between two states, and every year we fight it out over 3 games and it gets pretty, heated.
Extremely heated.
Well, maybe not compared to some places with some sports, but for Australia it's pretty heated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you're driving around, you see lots of blue for New South Wales, lots of maroon for Queensland, and cars and windows, and it's all happening. Yeah.
Yep.
I remember I went to the State of Origin once, and I'm not into rugby at all. I'm sorry, everybody, but I'm not. And I just, got a ticket, went along. I love atmosphere. Ate some pies in the rain. It was great. And I had to pick a side, and clearly it was Queenslander. But it was amazing how I actually started to feel part of it. I had no idea what was going on. And I learned very quickly not to talk about what the rules are while the game's happening, because I wasn't tolerated it.
No.
It was pretty funny. Yeah.
Yeah. And to make it even more tribal, it's not rugby, it's rugby league.
Yes,
because
not rugby
there's
union.
rugby union and rugby league, so yeah.
Yeah, I often have clients come in who are kids, boys, and one way that I break the ice with them is I ask them quite genuinely, what's the difference between rugby league and union? Can you tell me? Oh, wow, I get a lecture. They're in, and they're mortified that I don't know, and they must educate me.
Yeah.
And, they don't notice that they're talking to a stranger, and we're good.
Yep.
And but I still haven't learnt, even though I've been
lectured by a number of young men.
Because I really just don't care a lot.
No.
I can't do rugby. Yeah, it's quite funny. Anyway, so I love this word tribal. You've got me there. I love that. That's fantastic. And also, people are interested in community groups, aren't they? So I do art. I do oil painting.
Yep.
And so I'm very interested in other artists. I'm very interested in galleries. My poor husband, John, says I'll wait outside. And I prefer that because I like to just sort of take my time. So that's my kind of interest area, as well as writing. I'm involved in writing clubs as well because I love writing. So they're my two things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're two communities that you're involved in, apart from being a Queenslander, a person who's living in Toowoomba, a psychologist, because that's another community.
Yeah, yeah.
So we all belong to all these different communities.
Yeah.
And I often think of them as different tribes. It's like when you meet a group of people that you instantly click with and you hear someone say, I've found my tribe.
I've found my tribe. Actually, I've found, this is pretty obvious, when people grow up and they're moved around all the time through their childhood and they have this incredible sense of displacement. They don't have roots. They don't have a sense of getting involved in a community. And that's developmentally impacted on them because they don't have a sense of belonging. And they feel different. They often talk to me and assume that everybody else has got these lifelong friendships. And I say, well, they do have some of them, but they also make new friendships, and sometimes they can become equally or more important. And they can't quite tolerate that concept. There's a real sense of, being on the out.
Yeah, and being on the out it's something we all experience at different times because we can't belong to every tribe.
That's true.
I'm not a painter, and I have been probably with your husband on the seat outside the gallery.
He's nodding right now. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and you can't be part of every group.
No.
But we need some sort of community and some form of belonging to feel comfortable.
So do you think people can manufacture that? Say somebody's feeling very isolated. They might have moved or they might just feel isolated because they're home with bubs, They've lost their community with their work.
Yep.
They've disconnected from their friends because everyone's all busy being busy.
Yeah.
I hate that word, but that's what's going on. And, and they're feeling very disconnected. They're very isolated and they need that sense of community.
Yeah, and this is how a lot of community groups have evolved. For example, what used to be called Nursing Mothers, now the Breastfeeding Association of Australia.
Right.
That was a group of women who were at home with young babies, breastfeeding. There wasn't a lot of information around, and a few people got together and started talking about it, and it grew from that to an Australia-wide organisation. Playgroups
definitely
developed. Lots of mothers groups, antenatal classes brought women together.
What about men? Men often get together over sport, don't they?
Yes, often get together over sport. And can I just say, I'm no expert on what men do. So that's probably not my...
That's fine.
But yeah, sport's an obvious one.
Yeah, absolutely.
The pub.
Yeah, that's probably a community that, I don't know if the conversation is that rich.
Yeah. Men's sheds.
Yeah, definitely.
For elderly men. People just develop groups around something that they have in common. And, whatever that is, be that being at home with a small child or having retired, and suddenly you've lost your work, you've lost what's been a big part of your life for the last 40 years or whatever, and you've lost that social group. So you find something else, and that may be joining a bridge club or going to a men's shed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. And there's a lot of community-minded groups as well where you're giving to the community. Like I know a young girl who she goes and does horse riding with disabled people.
Yes.
Fantastic. There's trams in Toowoomba as well, which is helping refugee people to settle in and the massive scope of life skills that are involved there and support.
Yep.
What else? There's a lot of community groups, aren't there? There's the environmental group. Sea Shepherd's a bit of a fun one.
Yep. And you've got things like Rotary, Lions.
Of course.
And these groups have been going for a very long time. During the Industrial Revolution, a lot of the people who were working in factories actually developed groups where they could get some form of education outside working in the factory.
Right.
They developed libraries. So,
it was much broader support network.
But we all gravitate towards each other or towards other people who share some sort of values that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very important. And you're involved in a community group as well. I was getting the name wrong. Voices of Groom.
Yep, Voices of Groom.
I was getting it wrong, wasn't I? I was saying Voices for Groom, but it's Voices of Groom.
Yep.
Can you tell me a bit about how you got involved with that, what that gives you, what the purpose is? Because it's a good kind of case study.
I'm interested in politics.
Yes.
Always have been. And
what draws you to politics?
What our politicians do affect us on every level of our life.
Yeah.
Be it through laws that are made, through policies that are made, through, provision of healthcare, provision of education.
Quality of life.
Yeah. And often it's whoever's in power is funding various things. So, for example, the state government's responsible for health, so they fund the hospital. The federal government also has responsibilities for health. They fund Medicare.
Right.
So what their policies are on these areas affect our lives intimately.
Yeah.
And what I've seen over my lifetime is a drift away from doing what's best for everybody to doing what's best for certain sectors of the community. Party politics is all about being partisan and pushing your own line and excluding those who don't agree with you. Whereas I think we need to think more about what brings us together, what we have in common, and what we can do that is best for the majority of the people in the community.
And to be able to do that, you have to be very informed about with regard to what the community needs.
Yes. And you have to be informed about the political processes and who's responsible for what.
Yes.
And how to go about influencing that.
Yeah. Because you've got to work with the machine, so you have to understand the machine.
That's right. And a lot of people in Australia don't really understand how our political system works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but in our own small microcosm of Groom, which is the seat that Toowoomba sits in,
yes,
which goes north up to Peachy, out past Oakey, down to Nobby, we have a very large country town,
yes,
basically. That's Toowoomba. And we have small country towns, we have localities, and we have rural areas. And a common thing I was hearing was that the people in the rural areas felt they weren't represented.
Right.
Because nobody came and talked to them.
Yeah.
Nobody listened to what they needed. And their needs are very different from the needs of people who live in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's their communities.
Absolutely.
Having their specific needs and them wanting to have a voice. Yep. And the government is supposed to be working for the people, so they need to understand the unique pockets.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, yeah, it's...
So what, with Voices of Groom, I'm going to be very self-conscious every time I say that now.
Yep.
You're going around and engaging with the community?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
It's this sort of method of community engagement came from Victoria.
Really?
There's a seat down there called Indi.
Right.
And it had been held for a very, very long time by the same party. Mm-hmm. The people in the region felt they weren't being represented.
Right.
And so a small group got together and started asking people what they wanted. And the first thing they did was they held things that they called kitchen table conversations. Right. So they'd get a group of people together over a table, cup of tea, biscuits, whatever, and just talk and go, okay, what's important to you? If you could change 3 things, what would they be?
Yeah.
You know, what's really important to you? And so they engaged with the community and ended up standing a candidate for what was a very safe seat, Cathy McGowan, and she ended up being elected.
There you go.
Yeah.
So she was sort of very much the people's leader in that area.
That's right.
Was she an independent?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And it's the only seat in Australia that's passed from one independent to another. So really? Cathy McGowan did 2 terms. Helen Haynes has been elected in the same seat. And we're in a similar sort of situation where rural and very large country town.
Yep.
Similar sort of demographics.
Yep.
A university, boarding schools, a health centre, and an education centre. So
you can see a real parallel.
Yeah, can see a lot of parallels. Yeah.
It must be fun getting together and meeting all these people.
It's fabulous.
Is it?
It is just fabulous. Sitting down with people and listening.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a great slogan for the politician? Yeah. I'm a good listener.
Yeah.
Actually, that's pretty good.
It would be a good slogan. Yeah.
I'm going to listen and not speak so much. Wow.
Yeah.
That is so great.
Yeah, because what happens is a person gets elected from a political party, and then they have to toe that party's line.
Yes, yes.
Okay? That party's line may not be what's best for that community. So the thing is to find out what the community wants.
Yeah.
And what one community finds really important is not going to be the same as a neighbouring community. And boil that down to the essentials. and find out what the people have in common and what brings them together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's that tribe word again.
Exactly.
What does the tribe need?
Yeah.
Before the elder goes and votes.
Yeah.
It's a very good idea.
Yeah. So it's been fascinating.
Can I ask you, what does it give you for your mental health? What are the benefits for you? This is a really meaningful community involvement for you. It's got great purpose on a community level. What about for you though? What benefits for you?
I'm meeting a lot of people from all different walks of life. I'm a nurse. I like people.
Yeah, well, that's handy.
It is handy. And, you know, I've always had a lot of connection with people from all sorts of walks of life. And then when I went to teaching, it was like my world shrank somewhat.
Yes.
And now while I'm still working clinically a little bit, I'm finding getting out and talking to people and developing those connections really, really fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you find also that when you've got free time, your mind wanders to it?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, because you're learning and you're growing and you're reading and you'll be researching, and so it has that whole project component to it.
Yeah.
It's a real sense of purpose and passion in there as well. So that's growth, that's expansion. That is incredible for your mental health.
Yep. And it's for someone like me who is extremely interested in politics, it's not just me shouting at Twitter or the TV.
Do you shout at Twitter?
I'll shout it, all sorts of things. Or giving the dogs a lecture on the democratic process.
Well-educated dogs.
Yeah, they don't listen a lot, I find. But anyway, it's given that fascination of mine a direction and a purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that what we're doing will be a broad benefit to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. When you see something that there's a bottom line, there's an outcome that's going to have, significant meaning. It's so exhilarating, I imagine.
Yeah. And I think because I see community as being the bedrock of humanity, giving that community a voice is just an amazing thing to do. So to be able to listen to people, do some research, and then be able to, bring it all together, use the research skills and go, okay, I've analysed all this data and these are the things that have come out of it. These are the things that people want. This is the type of politician that our local community has said that they want.
Yeah.
These are the actions that they want their politicians to take.
Yeah.
These are the things that they want their leaders to focus on. It gives a direction to politics. It's,
it's a focus group.
Oh, it's a massive focus group.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So let's get it. Let's bring this down to the individual. Yeah. Because I really love getting practical with things. So there's someone sitting there. They're feeling isolated. They know that getting involved in a community group of some sort would benefit them, but they don't know where to start.
Yep.
Let's get practical. I think we should be a bowerbird. I think we should always be collecting and not necessarily say, okay, yes, I've figured this out. This is my place. More a case of roll the dice, have a go, find out. And, at minimum, you're going to have a good story to tell.
Absolutely.
Or you're going to find somewhere that you really connect.
Yeah.
And I think it's also really important to work out what your personal variables are. Obviously, there's your interest areas, there's your aptitude. For example, I really dislike accounting. I know it's a weird example, but I really do. I'm not going to get involved with anything to do with that.
No.
Well, I don't know if that does exist as a community group, but my point is it's not something I'm interested in. But I'm interested in the arts.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also I know some people who really want to get involved and contribute, and they want to give, so therefore they go and get involved with volunteer groups.
Yes.
And they feel a real sense of purpose, obviously.
Yep.
Now, a flip side of that, and this is just, why not talk about me, hey? But I actually have to do a lot of self-care because I see, 45 to 50 clients per week.
Yes.
And my job fundamentally is being very, 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 very plugged into other people.
Yep.
And so I can't afford on my downtime to do more plugging into people.
Yep.
I have to balance it where I can actually get into a state of flow for me.
Yep.
And I can do a lot of self-care.
Yep.
So that I can do my work. So I can't go and do volunteer work.
Yep.
I don't have it in me. I'm pretty done.
Yep.
And so I have to fuel up. So therefore, that's why the painting is fantastic.
Yes.
That's why I love traveling.
Yep.
And I love music, and I love writing, particularly the creative writing. But as you know, I do a lot of non-fiction writing, which is this Signpost for Living series that we're actually talking about, which I enjoyed as well.
Yep.
So, it's okay if it's something that is fueling up rather than actually giving, but I ironically then get involved in the community on those topic areas.
That's right.
And that's still people.
Yes.
But it's on a different level.
Exactly. And I think the thing that it boils down to, if you're looking for a group to become involved with, if you're looking for a community, is to be a bit introspective about it to start with and go, okay, what things do I value?
Yeah.
What's important to me? So you're not going to join an accounting group because it's not something that, while you may value it in the abstract, it's not something that you value on a personal level.
The irony is I'm a statistician.
Yeah.
That's the irony.
I know.
Yeah, non-practicing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. But I'm not going to join a group that is something that I'm fundamentally opposed to.
No, of course not.
So the Nazi Party's out, and I working in intensive care, it's very can be very mentally draining, can be very emotionally draining. And one thing I've found I'm not going to do is go to movies that celebrate violence, for example. Yeah. I don't find that entertaining. No. So I'm not going to join a movie group that's focused on Scorsese or someone.
Yes. Yeah, you go. And that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just really look in the mirror. Where are you at? What are your interests? What's your aptitude? And what do you need to get out of this?
That's right.
Yeah.
Also, what's available? Because if, for example, you're interested in bushwalking, but there are no groups, or there are no, or you can't get to the groups, that makes it impractical for you to do that. So have a look around at what's available, what other people are doing in your area that you would find fulfilling in some way, even if it's just as entertainment.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with entertaining yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a form of self-care.
Well, I think that what we're really saying here is it's about connection.
Yep.
Being part of the tribe.
Yep.
Finding something that connects with you and resonates with your values, with what you're really needing to draw from that as a balancer for your life.
Yep.
And that it's incredible to get involved with something that has such profound purpose.
Yes.
When that's such as your
Absolutely. For me, that's something that I just love.
Okay.
But for some people, the community that they're looking for is an escape from whatever the daily grind is.
Yeah.
So if you've got a job you don't like, you've got incredibly stressful home life, you've got all these pressures on you, the group that you need to find might just be some people who get together and, I don't know, knit and...
Well, yeah, all the creative arts and everything.
Yeah, and have a laugh over a cup of
and of course,
tea
there's
or
also
whatever.
the online communities, which are
Absolutely.
enormous. Interest groups, support groups, gaming groups.
And COVID has brought quite a focus on online groups.
Absolutely.
Because of the physical isolation that we've had to embrace.
Yeah.
For some people, that's been the only community contact that they've had.
Well, we've been very adaptive, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've had to be.
Yeah. And I've been involved in a couple of online communities for years.
There you go.
Yeah, Lonely Planets.
Oh, really?
Yep.
There you go.
Travellers, what was it? Women's Travellers. Been a member of that for ages, and even though Lonely Planet has disappeared, basically, some of those people we still communicate via Instagram.
There you go.
And
you're connected.
Yeah, we're
absolutely.
connected. And I mean, a lot of us have actually met. We're not just people who with an interest in travel. We've actually been and visited each other, stayed with each other, meet up with each other.
Oh, there you go. So that's another example of how this can have a ripple out effect.
Absolutely.
Broadening your world further and further.
Yes.
Meeting people. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we better go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for listening to me waffle.
You haven't been waffling at all. It's been really good to pull it apart, put it back together again. And I think the message is pretty clear, the benefits getting involved.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go through this. So if you want to catch me, you can catch me on KirstenHunterAuthor.com, Facebook, Kirsten Hunter Author, and Instagram, Kirsten Hunter Author, Twitter, Kirsten Hunter AU, the YouTube channel, Psych in Your Car, and this podcast is Signposts for Living with Dr. Kirsten Hunter. Thank you so much for coming along.
Thank you for having
Jen,
me.
it's been fun.
It has.
All right, take care, Don.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.